Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the... Well, hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody is doing well, and I most importantly hope you guys can hear me well, and I most importantly hope that everything else is working all right, because I'm basically working on a brand new setup here, so do give me some feedback whether you can hear me or Mando well enough and stuff like that, because I had to reinstall all of Windows and spend most of the day today kind of like getting up all the stream layout setups and softwares downloads and things like that. So it has been a very frustrating day. But that being put aside, assuming that you guys are not screaming at me that you can't hear me and all that other stuff, I'll take a stab in the dark and guess that everything is all right. So we have some stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about Odin's nerf buff. We're going to be talking about AQ changes, about the big event that's coming in April, and perhaps touch a bit on the current state of the game and the current champions being released and stuff like that. So all that being said, let's say hello to Mando and get this thing started.
What's up, boss man? And hello to all those people out there watching this live or in the future. Hello, future me. I see you out there. Stop scratching. It will never heal if you don't let it heal. Anyway.
Alrighty then. So, well...
So yeah, so we've got the newest champion added to the game, Odin, huh?
which I just grabbed from Arena. Just FYI.
How much did you end up putting up? I'm curious.
By the way, guys, let me know if you hear Mando well as well. But yeah, I ended up at 72.2 or 72.3 million. A bit more than I thought I would, because I finished the stream at like 69 or 68, something like that. And then I grinded out all my 5 stars, and then as I was reinstalling the Windows and stuff like that, like it's a very long, tedious process, right? And you kind of have to be here, you kind of have to be present, because sometimes it asks and stuff. And I just grinded out a bit more of my 5 stars and stuff like that. So yeah, I ended up at 72.
See, but I remember the end of the stream yesterday in the afternoon, I said you'd probably finish at 72 million, and I was right!
Yeah, you were right. And that put me in 192nd place, I think. Oh, I actually can show it before we get to everything else.
Yeah, show it. Why not?
And yeah, so there is Old Man Odin on the way for my account shortly. So we can take a look at leaderboard. Whoopsie, wrong tab. Take a look at leaderboard. Yeah, 192 with 72.389 million.
Definitely thinks that if you put up like 65 or 68, you probably got him, no problem.
Yeah, I saw 70 million was 219th place, I believe.
219th,
so I think
yeah.
He went
so you
somewhere
definitely
mid-60s, most likely, unless there was a huge drop-off.
Yeah, unless there's a huge drop-off, I think it went a little higher than even I suspected originally.
Yeah,
so,
I thought he's gonna go mid-50s, low 60s. He probably went mid-60s, but I definitely knew he's not gonna go 70 plus.
Yeah, I didn't think 70 was going to be the low end of it. So, but it's nice to see that, like, because they opened it up to 300, if it had been 150, you would have still missed it at 72 million, which is insane.
If it would have been 150, I would have grinded harder, though.
Right. But I'm just saying, think of it that way, though. If it had only been top 150, you would have probably had to put up 80 plus million easily.
How to put much harder.
Which is nice that it lets you do it a little more relaxing. Yeah, I don't think you stressed at it all.
But again, in general, I think we are long overdue 6-star arena, because let's say I grinded out the 5-star, right? And I don't feel like I have that champion. Like, the champions that are on top of my wish list are all the champions that I do have as 5 stars at max rank available, and I just still don't feel like I fully have them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have 5-star Immortal Abomination and Apocalypse and stuff like that, but the fact that I don't have a 6-star Apocalypse in my head means I don't have Apocalypse that I can like base my teams and rank ups around. Like, for instance, I'm not ranking up Cable because I don't have a 6-star Apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, that's like, the same thing. Spider-Ham, Mortal Abomination, and Apocalypse are the 3 that I can say right off. And Mole Man, 4 that I could say that I have a rank 5, but I feel like I don't really have them because I don't have them as a 6
Yeah,
star.
exactly. So I think the 5 star and also like prestige aspect of it, like these runes can't make a significant impact on account in that aspect anymore. So 5 stars are still capable of doing a ton of stuff, but the perception of 5 stars when you are quite as high in the game, like as we are,
Yeah.
it just definitely isn't the same what it was like even a year ago or something.
Yeah, definitely is not. Definitely is not. But it's nice that if you really want a 5 star just to really test out,
Yeah, well,
you can get that now.
I'll take him up to rank 3, like I do the rest of my champions. I'll make a couple of videos, and then mainly it's
Hmm.
synergy stuff and pre-fights and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's more or less going to be probably the extent of it, unless I get like a cosmic rank 4 to 5 gem from a variant or something.
Yeah.
But that is
Exactly.
that. Right. So old puppy Odin is on the way to my account as we are recording this. But old
Yeah.
puppy Odin is not quite as he was meant to be. So I suppose the best way to describe this situation would be actually go over Odin's abilities
Yeah. That'd
in
probably be the best
game,
thing.
right? So I'm gonna put up Odin on the screen. And previously, Odin, well, he still has the pre-fight abilities, right? But previously, Odin's pre-fight abilities were able to be stacked multiple times on the same champion. So if we go to his abilities, I think they are somewhere in the bottom, he could put aptitude buff on any champion in the game. That increases the fury armor up and precision buff potency by 13%. You could kind of put a little bit of a safeguard mechanic on champions where you can't take more than 18 or 15% of your max health from a single source, which is neat, not the biggest deal. And you also could make somebody shock resistant to 80 or 90%. But the bigger thing in a lot of cases is the fact that those are active buffs that you can stack on opponents. So you could give champions not 3, but 6, 9, and 12 active buffs from the very, very start of the fight, pretty much. And that opened several, let's say, cheeses with other champions and champion interactions. Especially since we have game modes where you can now swap in and out champions, like in Incursions or in Alliance. You can buff your Alliance mates champions, and in theory, let's say, one person brings in Ghost Trinity with Ant-Man and whatever not, and then nine or 5 other people bring in Odins and jack that ghost up, right? You have a ghost that starts with 15 buffs, and for each buff you get 15% attack increase, so you have like 200 or 200 something percent attack bonus. And obviously in vast majority of scenarios, it's not really a practical thing to do. But there are game modes that would be
Yeah.
affected by this change. Game modes that would be affected by this interaction. And so Kabam didn't like that, and I saw it coming kind of like a mile away. That they're basically going to be preventing Odin's buffs from stacking. Everything else about Odin is exactly the same as before, but the buffs will no longer be able to kind of like stack up. And then to kind of compensate, they are going to be giving extra crystals of next featured champion that's going to come for every crystal basically that you have bought for Odin. And they're also committing to a tuning buff of Odin in May. What are your thoughts, and which aspects do you find the most important about this? Because it's actually quite an intricate subject here, I think.
Yeah. So now I do think it's kind of nice that the fact that anyone that did the preview bundles or crystals that they're going to be able to get the next round, but it says they'll probably be after the early access for the next ones come out. But it gives you a chance also, if you didn't get him, to get him again or get whatever the new champion is going to be, which is kind of nice. But in regards to the champion change itself, it sucks because I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, okay," which incorrectly they were saying, "Well, Hela's got all this damage now." Hela's always had the damage; it's just not easiest. It's not been the easiest to do it. Um,
It actually doesn't
However,
affect Hella much at all.
well, right. That doesn't, yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying that's as an example. The thing to know is I think if because they say they're going to also change Odin to tuning his buff for him to be, I don't know, better than what he currently is to be more of a support champion, but also maintain that status as support champion. We want him to be able to do more in his base abilities. So, like, I think it's going to be nice to see if they do something to tune him up faster with a newer champion, because he really is kind of a letdown on his own. I mean, you could even say, he
It's
he really
Heimdall
isn't that great.
2.0.
Yeah, and I still prefer Heimdall.
Yeah, probably.
And so with that being said, I think it'd be nice to see if he ends up getting a tune-up. I'm not gonna hold my breath on that, because I'm gonna hold my reservations, because I don't know if they'll do anything justice with it. But let's just be honest, the way he was released now, we weren't exactly as excited about it. The few parts we found that we could really utilize him, now they're changing because they don't want it to be too overpowered or whatnot. And anyway, long story short, I think it's good. I think they handled it the best way they probably could. I think the way they could do it better in the future is test your goddamn champions before putting them out in the wild for us to buy. That's probably the easiest thing.
Yeah, I actually have like a ton of things to make on this subject, and that's one of the things that I'm afraid that I'm just gonna explode in a long monologue, because there are so many things so wrong with this, in my opinion. First thing is the whole idea of Odin being a support champion. I don't agree to that. I don't think that iconic Marvel characters should pretty much ever be subjected to a treatment such as this, that, oh, we intended him to be a support champion, therefore he by definition must suck on his own. When historically, that has very, very rarely been the case. And there is absolutely nothing that's preventing a champion from being a great support character and a decent to great champion on his own. Like, obviously, the most touted comparison, will he be the cosmic Apocalypse? Well, no, he's not, right? Because Apocalypse is a good champion in his own right, and he helps out a lot of other people. And Professor X is in large degree a support champion, but he has a worthwhile kit of his own with things that he does very well and some insane damage potential. Same in Nick Fury. Nick Fury, you might look at maybe slightly less as a support champion, but as a beast of a champion himself, but he does have a lot of support qualities. I don't understand the whole idea of, like, support champions cannot be excellent champions in their own right, because they have clearly broken that rule time and time and time again in past. Now, I do understand the concept of champion being offensive or defensive and largely designed with the idea of this champion is going to be hard to beat, or this champion is going to be very offensively powerful. I can get that, even though I still think that you can incorporate worthwhile factors in both ways, as again evidenced by Nick Fury, who is one of the toughest defenders, but also a great attacker. Same as Apocalypse. Apocalypse is currently the hottest defender, the most used alliance or boss, but he's also good, fun to use. And plenty of other champions. I don't like this idea of setting a very, very clear identity and then completely abandoning every other aspect of a champion. Because why? Like, they clearly have made champions that double up or triple up in their use. Again, Nick Fury, great in offense, great in defense, great as support champion. Why some champions get this treatment and why some champions are kind of relegated to one of the roles. There's nothing wrong with a champion excelling in one particular place, right?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
There's no need to make them useless in the other areas of the game. So I really, really kind of detest this whole idea, especially when it comes to involving powerhouses of Marvel. And my personal kind of reaction to this was, come on, have some goddamn respect on goddamn Odin. Like, it's the Odin, it's the All-Father, it's not a cheerleader, right? He's not meant to be sitting on a bench and just kind of like, yay, go boy. He's meant to do stuff. Like, he's that powerful, and he has this whole image, and he has this whole thing about him in comics and in even MCU that is just, first of all, I find it disrespectful. Two, and like, as a Marvel fan, like generally as a Marvel fan, I find it very, very disrespectful when they do this. But okay, that put aside, because that really doesn't involve the situation. It just involves my personal, let's say, bone to pick with Kabam about what they have done here.
Yeah.
Right, and then obviously we have the change. The change I think is great. I do not think at all that it should have ever had the ability to stack. Now for funsies and stuff like that, yeah, obviously it's fun to bring in for Odins or whatever. But realistically, when you are kind of like bringing in multiple copies of the same champion, it's always typically for cheese tactic or something that can be potentially imbalanced. Typically, like just like we're not able to stack any other effect such as this, I don't think this should have been the one thing that we can stack infinitely. Also, there's more important aspect because as people pointed out, and as I pointed out in my video as well, this could potentially have an impact on 7.2 Legends and Legends going forward, where this extra attack that you're able to put on Ghost, given the fact that it's Ghost that has an interaction. So if it was interacting with Kamala Khan like that, or if it was interacting with, whatever random champion, it wouldn't matter. But because Ghost is one of the kind of like flagship champions of Legends runs, would put even bigger aspect of haves and have not categories. Because right now, if you have Odin, you're set. If you don't have Odin, you're disadvantaged. But a 5-star Odin suffices because you can bring in a 5-star in Act 6. If they hadn't done this, and if you could, let's say, bring in 5 and 6-star Odin, it would put a huge advantage in hands of the people who either got very, very lucky or spent a large sum of money to make sure they do have a 6-star Odin. And that would have had very, very big implications. Like, if this change, like, right now, I am reasonably confident that I will try to run Legends for either 7.2, 7.3, or 7.4. I'm not decided 100% whether I'll do it, or I haven't decided whether for which of the chapters I'll do it, because it depends on a lot of different things. But I can tell you for a fact, if this change would not have been made, and I don't have a 6-star Odin, I would not even try to run the Legends. Because somebody would have clearly a very, very huge advantage over me if they can buff their Ghost at 90% attack instead of 45.
Yeah, exactly.
So as far as the change itself goes, I think it's good. I think it's good for the game. I'm happy that they did it. I'm actually... what's the best way? I'm not overly happy that Odin's mechanics are the way they are, because I think it kind of makes a bit heavy situation on the Legends runs as such, because again, even though 5-star Odin still does exactly the same as the 6-star Odin does, it still will create the gap where whether you do or do not have Odin, and that may or may not decide whether you can compete in Legends runs and stuff like that. So it maybe would have been better if his abilities only work on Cosmic Champions, or it may be better if his abilities only work on Hero Champions, or something. Like,
Yeah.
Or if they were passives. But if they were passives, it would kind of like defeat the purpose of interacting with champions like Angela and stuff like that.
True.
So there's that.
That's true, very true.
So there's that. I'm not a big fan of this Odin mechanic to begin with, but it is pretty much the best thing about him, more or less. Alright, when it comes to their solutions, I think giving extra crystals is about as good as they could have done. Like, ideally, you would have them refund the money, obviously. But let's face it, even if you knew about this change, you still might have bought the bundle, so it's also not, it would be kind of like overzealous, I think. And the second thing is, Kabam's never gonna give money away. Unless there's like a literal court order that's ordering them to send out refunds and stuff. Never, ever, ever, ever gonna happen. But how this goes down with people at large will largely depend on how good or bad the next champion is. Next champion is good, everything's fine, many people will accept it, and we're gonna have happy-go-lucky people who have had a chance at extra crystals for an amazing champion. If next champion is Super Scroll 2.0 or Psycho Man or Jubilee or whatever else, people will flip their bitch switch immediately. Like, immediately.
They can't have a dud champion come out next.
They absolutely, like, and this year, almost every champion has been a dud, which is a very depressing state of affairs, which we can and probably will discuss by the end of the stream. But they absolutely cannot have a bad champion next champion. Not just because of this, but also largely because of how bad the champions have been this far. Champions have been really atrocious.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely something.
And the last point that we need to go over, that the fact that they are committing to tuning buff for Odin quicker than we normally have in the past. Now, this thing immediately pissed me off. This thing immediately pissed me off because this is as if they are trying to bargain with us. We're going to take that aspect off him, but we're going to make him a better champion. My first question immediately is, why the hell did you release a champion that you know already needs a tuning buff? Like, you know what I mean? How do champions like this make to the game? Immediately, at the point of his release, Kabam themselves are kind of like, oh, we're going to tune him up. Isn't he meant to be tuned properly? The whole idea of tuning is to bring him up to par, bring a champion up to par, so to make sure that he's actually usable, right? And that just absolutely pisses me off. Kabam should not be releasing champions that need tuning. They should be doing everything they humanly can to avoid the fact that a new champion needs to be tuning in the first place. Because that is the whole idea. When you tune or buff a champion, the champion is either outdated, which is not an excuse that's valid of a brand new champion, or it's clearly underpowered. Why the hell do they release Odin? It's kind of like the same situation with MCOC. I think MCOC's damage has been spread by half to what it's originally intended. I released a MCOC video yesterday. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I was able to watch it.
And champion, in his damage rotation as a rank 3 5-star, in his quote-unquote high damage rotation, he would take about 600 hits to defeat Winter Soldier without Suicide Masteries. And that is worse than unduped Immortal Iron Fist. Unduped Immortal Iron Fist.
It's bad. It's very bad.
And to add an insult to injury, his quote-unquote utility, which was being praised and which was one of the selling points of the champion, right? Where you have two clear rotations, one to deal damage and one to gain a whole bunch of immunities and stuff. His utility rotation, also the reason why you can't run him with suicides if you need to access that utility, because you just die from recoil.
Right.
His utility rotation took over 1,000 hits to defeat Winter Soldier. How the hell is that champion being released in 2021?
I don't understand that at all. It seems like it's very much a bad...
To me, it seems that somebody designed the champion decently well, and before it got released, somebody in a big suit behind a big desk who is in charge of whatever they are in charge of said no and just basically slashed the damage in half. To me, because I can see how he's meant to come together, I can see what he's meant to do and what sacrifices are for like his kit. Right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And as a champion, he makes perfect sense and would be a worthwhile addition with double the damage that he has. Not like this. Not like this, because he's not... yeah, anyways, it's so annoying.
Yeah, it's showing that whatever's happening before they get sent out, something is being done where a champion is being gimped because of being scared about something.
Yeah.
And it's hurting the champions because no champion has been amazing that's released this year.
Yeah, well, Strife is like... let's say Strife's good. Strife hasn't proved himself at all.
Not at all, no.
Not at all anywhere, so there is still an argument to make that even Strife is bad. But let's say benefit of the doubt. Let's say in the name of future contest, and let's say in the name of all of those champions who don't have Strife yet because he's not readily available. Let's give Strife benefit of the doubt. And let's say Strife is good / alright or whatever. Let's mark him as good. Let's pass him. That's 1 out of 6. other 5 champions have been trash.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but we're gonna circle around to it. We need to move on to other big piece of news that we have, and that is AQ season 8.5. What are your
Which,
thoughts on it? Or if you
well,
want to
I
do a
knew it
quick
was.
explanation of what's effectively changing, in short.
You want me to give the explanation?
Yeah, if you want to. I did the last one.
Okay. Well, basically, what's happening is they're going to update to where now in all the maps there will no longer be linked nodes for the paths. There'll only be linked nodes to the mini bosses and boss. And if previously the lane did not have a node that was linked to the boss, it now will. So it makes it important that everybody still take care of their lanes. However, it does help with timing now. Now it makes it so much better. It's almost like Alliance War, where there's no more links except for the mini bosses to the boss. So that allows a lot quicker. It allows you to have players that are different time zones, even to play with each other without having to wait around or change sleep schedules or anything. You really can just take care of your lane and go to bed and such. That's one of the major changes that I think is going to be really great. Another thing it's going to have, they are changing up some of the mini bosses for different mini bosses and such. They're changing out a few defenders and such. They are also going to make it. Let's see, I'm trying to think with the Alliance Quest. I think it's a big changes with the Alliance Quest. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I can remember off the top of my head with the
Well, we
Alliance Quest
have the
itself.
Glory Star changes, which we're gonna probably
Well, right. The
talk
Glory
about.
Store, that's completely different.
Oh,
Yeah, the Glory Store,
different.
it's going to be better
Yeah.
because
Well,
it'll
again,
be cheaper or more for the same price.
Yes. And the champion changes is that basically they swapped out some very annoying wasps, dominoes, and voids, which is
Yeah.
actually affecting me personally. There are obviously several implications with these changes, and as I found out after it, not all of them are good. Now, my personal reaction with AQ changes, I wasn't like overly happy with what's here. Or to be more specific, I liked what I saw, but the fact that these changes did not include a lot of things that I thought are important is what I didn't like. Because once they change something in AQ, it's going to be very considerable amount of time before they do anything else with it. That's one thing. And second thing is I thought AQ out of all the game modes is the game mode that probably needs the least help. Alliance War needs a lot more help. Incursions needs more help. We just need more different content in general. I think AQ would have been perfectly fine if we leave it alone for a bit longer. But fair enough. If that's what they do, that's what they do. Now, the bigger problem that I actually wasn't properly aware of, and the reason for it is, and I'm not trying to be flexing here on anyone or anything like that, is because I play the game at relatively high level and I had never heard of this strategy because I have always kind of like played, very capable alliances pretty much for last 5 years, something like that. Only first kind of like half year, I wasn't towards a top tier game. And apparently right now, legitimately, a strategy is that a lot of alliances do the boss rush on map 7, but they don't explore all the map. They take some of the fights linked, and they do that because they typically have quite low prestige, so they wouldn't get all that much from rank rewards anyways, and they focus on the honor rewards, where if you play map 7 on epic modifiers, you just need to kill the boss. And when you kill the boss in all 7 days, you basically get 10% tier 5 CC in a week, which is more than they would get doing literally anything else. So for them, that's a viable strategy, at least for a group of alliances. And those alliances are actually very pissed now because Kabam effectively has put a stop to that. Because now everything links to mini bosses and final boss.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little frustrating there, I could see for sure.
And I'm not entirely sure what's the best way to comment here, because what's the best way to put it? Something that I have just come aware of. I can see that being a legitimate strategy, I can definitely also see that being something Kabam doesn't want people to do. And
Yeah,
they stopped it.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it's going to definitely affect people in a negative way, which
is going to be a group of people, but let's face it. Overall, majority
yeah.
of the people are very positively affected.
Yes. Well, overall, it's a positive change. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
And like for me as well, like to be honest, like my alliance has been very, very accommodating and understanding to me and my
Yeah.
needs, and the fact that I stream typically when IQ starts and I'm not available to stay up late because I live in UK, and I had a fairly easy time, but it's gonna be even easier now.
Yeah. It'll definitely be easier for you, which will be nice.
And
But
then
I like it. There's been plenty of times, and I've talked to you about this recently, that I have needed to get out of. Haven't been able to sleep. I'm waiting for a link to come down. It's not my path. I didn't bring a counter because I didn't expect it to be up, and the guy's been missing for 12 hours. That if it had been in play this week would have affected me in a good way, where the guy could have taken care of it before he went to bed instead of
yeah,
leaving
the
it up
whole
and
idea
then
I think is that a lot more people will be able to play map 7 or map 6 or just like move up to higher maps, because a lot of people just were not able to accompany Alliance Quest with a daily schedule, and I think this will make it very, very possible for you to be able to do your part in Alliance and play in a higher level Alliance without that being as intrusive to your daily life, which is something that I absolutely love. Because in theory,
yeah,
let's say if you are a very, very busy person, or if you're not somebody who people rely on being the quote unquote boss killer, you can do the entire Alliance quest by logging in 3 times over the course of 24 hours. So you log in when AQ goes live, or
yeah,
like an hour or two after that. In my case, because I'm in Europe, I go to bed, I wake up, and let's say log in the second time in the morning, clear out my energy, do my section 2, and then at some point in the middle of the day, I log back in and clear my section 3, and that's it. I don't have to worry. It's literally quite as simple. And if you are like in a working life, then again, with this kind of schedule, you log in, let's say on your lunchtime or whenever it is when AQ starts,
yeah,
and you do your section 1, you come home after work, you do your section 2, you wake up before work, you do your section 3. It's much, much more realistic for a lot of people to be able to accompany this game now with their daily life, which is ultimately huge positive, and I love it. I think it's one of the best things Kabam has done for a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. Definitely is. Yeah, definitely one of the better moves. While it does negate some things for other people, it definitely helps the majority, and it's going to make it just better.
And
So
especially like for me, because that was one of the things why my alliance had to put me on path 5 in section 1, which is basically kind of like an independent path. So long as I log in and do my AQ fights before I go to bed, I'm clear. I never had to wait on anybody or get unlinked, stuff like that. Because
yeah,
my path is this like little thing down here where it's like 3 fights and the teleport to the mini boss mini boss island, and that had already solved that problem for me in section 1, which is a very huge deal, because I remember getting in constant fights with my better half before bedtime, because like, oh, I'm waiting on somebody, I just need them to I need to do another fight. And I can understand how frustrating it can be if you are in a relationship with somebody when you want to either go to bed or just spend time together, and the guy's there with the phone in his hands, like, shh, just give me 2 minutes, I'm waiting, and then you're getting stressed, and you message your alliance mates, and you start using adult language at times and stuff like that. So I have personally had a ton of frustrations in regards of that, and luckily my alliance has largely sorted that with me
yeah.
specifically by changing me to that path. But it still often was quite frustrating in sections 2 and 3 to wait on somebody.
Definitely. No, definitely. Section 2 was always the part I had issues with. Section 3 can kind of be that way too. But yeah, it's definitely nice to know that we can just blitz through our path now.
Yeah, and there are also some more changes for champions. I'll be absolutely honest, the changes that they did on map 6 and lower maps I can't comment because I haven't played those maps in like forever, so I have
Right.
zero perspective whether it's easier, whether it's harder. I know the changes to map 7, like for me personally, this Void on counter tactics was always like the main fight. Like my entire AQ run was effectively revolving around this guy on counter tactics because it's very, very nasty. Because Void with increased attack, it was basically if you do not get a debuff off, immediately you die in a couple of seconds in vast majority of the cases.
Yeah.
And since I often run Suicide Masteries, that was obviously very big factor in who I can and cannot bring in AQ because of Void. And on top of all of that, epic modifiers, how Caustic Temper, which is a nightmare to deal with if you go up against Void, because if you crit twice, you have a debuff, and with counter tactics, you're immediately dead again. So I'm very happy to see that guy gone. He was probably the most annoying. I had gotten used to him, like I was dealing with relatively well. I very rarely actually died there, but he was the fight that I had to plan my entire kind of like team or week or setup around. So I'm very happy that's sorted.
That's really good. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I have heard that Wasp on Do You Bleed apparently was a big annoying champion as well, because Wasp can
Yes.
purify the bleeds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you could. That
And
was, yeah,
Domino on
definitely a
All
bad
or
thing.
Nothing also. I remember taking her some while back, and she was also like the most annoying fight on that lane.
Yeah, that's actually my path I have to take, and I'd had to do the Corvus timeout because like if you parry and actually get a parry off, she could go right to 3 bars sometimes if she's even close to 2 already. So it's like annoying as hell. So yeah, that's a nice change for me. I'll take Namor any day because I can probably take him down before then.
Yeah. And yeah, so those are the main changes about the IQ itself. And then we have the Glory Star changes, which is also something we need to include. Let's go quickly for the bottom 2, and then spend a bit more time on Thronebreaker.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, so pre-uncollected Greater Glory crystals removed and replaced with full tier 4 CC crystal, which is a good change. Same value, you basically get more of that stuff, so all that is good. Positive improvement, tier 2 alpha purchase increased from 5 to 10%. Cost remains the same, again, effectively great change for a lot of people. Now
Excellent
we have
change.
uncollected and Cavalier changes, which is tier 2 alpha per purchase is increased from 30 to 40%. Which is nice, and tier 5 basic purchase increase from 10 to 15%, which again is nice. However, I still do not agree with Cavaliers being together with uncollecteds in the Glory Star.
I've told you the reason behind that before. I guarantee it. Whatever the next title is going to be is going to go with Thronebreaker, and that's the reason why they did that.
No, but
still doesn't make any sense.
Because Cavalier is very, very vast group. There are people like I played my mini account for some few weeks, and I had become Cavalier already in like few weeks.
Right.
Let's say it's because I know this game very well and all that other stuff, and let's say an average person takes 3 months or whatever, or
a year
5
even.
months or whatever. Like, but you, if you play decently well and if you spend time and effort in this game, you can become Cavalier very, very, very early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there are people who are Cavaliers still 5 years playing this game or 4 years playing this game, who played relatively more casually, but still over the course of 5 years they have amassed large rosters, and they're just kind of like struggling to put together the tier 5 CC, which has become a lot easier since Thronebreaker has been introduced and stuff like that. But the idea that somebody who's uncollected, so that's beaten collector, is in the same bracket as somebody who has maybe 25 rank 5 stars and has done majority or large portion of the content available in the game, it's a very huge discrepancy, and it kind of defeats the purpose of having these separated categories to begin with. Because if you group together players who have been playing again for 3, 5, 6, 7 months and have become uncollected, because you can do that easily in that time. With players who have played this game for 4 or 5 years, something's very, very wrong in the whole system there.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those things where it sucks because there could be someone that can't get Thronebreaker because they have even the T5CC they need. They just don't have a champion they'd rank up, or
Yeah,
even they
or
may not
they
even
have a
have that
champion, or
class.
they don't have TF5CC. Anyways, but
Oh
the
yeah,
point is, like, Cavalier is the group that really does need that access to that TF5CC. Not
yes,
that it's a huge amount of TF5CC to begin with. Not that everybody would find value in it. If you just become Cavalier, you wouldn't spend your glory on it anyways, right? So it's not like going to give some unprecedented influx of resources to players who shouldn't have them. Because TF5CC still costs a lot. Like 1500 glory is quite a lot for
yeah.
something that you can not buy if you don't need it. So I still think that either everybody should have separate stores or Cavalier should have the store together with Thronebreakers. But
Yeah, it would be nice if everybody had their own store, like,
yeah,
but I understand why they do it, but it's still annoying.
yeah, it definitely seems a bit off. Anyways, let's actually talk about Thronebreaker changes, which again are not the ones that I'm only too happy with. Like now, obviously we have great
Yeah.
increase in tier 2 alpha, which is gonna help mitigate tier 2 alpha problem that many people have. I have actually
Yeah,
just
many
kind of like
people.
evened out my stash personally, but I know a lot of people struggle with it.
Yeah, I've kind of even out mine too, which is kind of funny. I think just because I had a bunch of rank 2s and 3s I was doing like at the same time at the end of last year, I had between the deals from um the November, the what do you call it? Cyber
I
weekend
I
deals.
actually think it's a bit different reason why so many people all of a sudden has how evened out their stashes. Do you want to hear my little secret theory?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to hear it if I can hear it. So yes.
It's quite simply because we haven't had a big piece of content released. Whenever a big piece of content got released, we got very
Yeah.
large amounts of TFI basic catalysts and like
Or
6.1,
rank up
Act 6,
counters.
and even variants proportionally awards you with a lot more TFI basics to tier 2 alpha. And that's why we
Yeah.
had such trouble keeping up tier 2 alpha, because let's say if they awarded, in some cases, let's say 5 TFI basics and like 4 tier 2 alpha and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
and then we were just, because if you go back and watch the rewards distribution, there is significantly far too many tier 5 basics compared to tier 2 alpha. But since we haven't had any big piece of content that gives that big influx of tier 5 basics, then it's just a very bare basic slow acquisition has been happening. On top of that, many of us have transitioned to ranking up 6 stars or 5 stars, so we use more tier 5 basic to tier 2 alpha that we did before, and obviously tier 2 alpha has become also more available. So those all are three things that kind of have come together to shift the need. And I have personally went from pretty much spending glory to get max tier 2 alpha fragments to not buying any tier 2 alpha fragments anymore and spending my glory to getting max tier 5 basic fragments at this point. And the fact that we do not see any change to tier 5 basic at this moment irks me a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of frustrating, but I feel like we get enough of it at
Yeah, I
a
suppose it's not
higher
like,
level.
yeah, I suppose it's not like a huge issue. I'm just saying if they increase
But
tier 2 alpha, I would have liked to see increased tier 5 basic too.
but I will say that it's lovely that they're going to give us 50% versus 30% for the same price,
Yeah.
and the fact that they've dropped it like a third of the price for the other one
Yeah, the tier 5
is
CC is nearly half the price. It's dropped like
yeah, almost
45% or
half.
something
Yeah, it's
like
more
that.
than a third, but yeah, definitely.
And at that price, I can actually see myself picking it up. Maybe not every week, but definitely most of the weeks or some of the weeks. Because
Same.
previously, I think I bought it twice or once for 2,700 because it's so overpriced.
I'm sure that they looked at that and saw not many people were buying it
Yeah,
and
because it
said,
genuinely wasn't
we
worth it.
if it would have been 10% at that price, maybe worth it, but not 5%. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just you're just milking people
Yeah, I
now
mean,
for
like
all
even
their.
at 1,500, I'm not sure. It's not like I'm definitely gonna buy
But
every week, you know?
if you're close to like forming one, or like let's say you're going to get 10% and you're like 12% away from forming something, and those two RNGs could go your way between the 10% you're going to get from the honor rewards and then the extra 5% here, or just get you closer. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. No, I know, and I'm not saying like nobody buy it. Obviously, a lot of people do because they don't necessarily get those honor rewards or play map 7 and stuff like that. So it's all fair
yes, I
game,
mean,
and it's good that it's there. But there is actually a very, very good comment from John Quick, who says, I'd rather they have kept the price of TF5CC and have made it a Nexus selector. I think I kind of agree
I don't
with
think
that.
so.
I kind of agree with that, because then you could use
I
it
don't.
to try and target something, but anyways.
You know what?
It's
If
an
that's
idea
the
worth
case,
exploring.
then I don't think it's worth almost double the price of what it's going to be now. Now, if it was
Yeah,
a
I suppose
10% selector, I would agree with you, but 5%, there's no reason it should be a selector for almost 2,700 or for almost 3,000 glory. That's no.
Yeah, well,
I'd rather them
well,
if
either
I'd
way,
rather
it's
them
a
make
good
it
change.
3,000, give it a 10% and have a selector.
Either way, it's a quite good change there, and it's not
Yeah, I
perfect.
mean it's a
Again,
good
I don't
comment. I
think
agree
it's
there
like a
could be
great
people
deal.
that
I don't
like
think
that.
we're
I
getting
just
like
don't
a
see.
bargain for 1,500,
Yeah.
5%. 5% is only 5%. And,
Yeah, but it's 20% a month.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
not
That
really if
means
you put it next to.
if you got nothing from anything else, you would be able to get 20% a month just from doing Alliance Quest for 1,500 glory, which people in lower alliances get 1,500 glory.
Yeah,
That's nothing.
and again, I'm not saying it's an awful deal. I'm just saying it's not that great of a deal. Because glory is
It's
a
not
valuable
horrible.
resource. Glory is arguably one of the more valuable resources in this game.
But they put such a limit, and there's a max amount you can carry. I think 15,000 is the max you can have.
Well, that's also what makes that resource quite dynamic and interesting, because you can't hoard it and then wait for the store update and then just whale it out.
No, but it will definitely make me. I will not be spending any of my glory, maybe a few health potions and a revive this next week. Like the next two, like the one that ends in this one and then the following one, because there's going to be this Alliance Quest and then next Alliance Quest before this takes effect. So for like 2 weeks of glory, I'll probably have enough to like buy everything that I want right whenever the new store hits.
Well, I'm still gonna buy everything in TF5 Basic, because I do need a lot of TF5 Basics, because I have a ton of rank ups to do. But I'm not gonna probably buy anything else for now till the store updates, which happens on 10th of April.
The 10th. That's Saturday, I believe.
Well,
Can you
it's basically not next AQ cycle, this AQ cycle after.
Yeah, it's 2 cycles from now. This cycle that we're already in, that we're on day 4 now, and the one next AQ doesn't benefit from it, but the one after that, you're gonna love. Your parents are gonna love it.
Yeah, and okay, now we have the kind of like final thing to look at, or well, next thing that we need to move on to, basically, which is the fact that we
the final thing,
know something. We don't know exactly what we know, but we know something.
We know that there is something that possibly maybe is for sure coming next month.
There is something definitely coming that's more than our regular monthly side event quest and stuff like that. We know actually one of 3 possibilities of what is coming. The problem is it could be either one of those 3. Now, I think we can realistically narrow it down to 2 things, possibly.
I think I know what it is.
And more than likely, it is like I would, if I was betting man, I would bet on one thing in particular. I'm trying to find that.
I'm going to tell you what I'd bet on. You want me to tell you before you say it? Sure. What I'm going to bet it on? I'm going on no other evidence or anything, just based on my own thought process. I think we're getting variant 7.
So do I. So do I.
Do ya? You think? Oh, you agree with me. KT agrees with me, everybody. Stop the press. Oh, look, Nathan Budd in the chat also agrees with me, so there you go.
Well, I think vast majority of the people are thinking it's going to be.
Now, wouldn't that be funny, though, if they subvert our expectations and it's like a mega epic boss rush?
It could be. Well, it could be that.
Or celebrity challenge.
It could very well easily be that Pain event.
When did Chadwick Boseman pass away? Last year?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna look. Hold on, I'm gonna look real quick because I'm wondering. I'm thinking we're coming up on that anniversary soon too.
Could be.
Chadwick Boseman.
I can't really find that thread here.
I know it's hard if you're looking for something always. Okay, no, that was August. So I think they'll do. I'm almost thinking that we know about the Black Panther update. I'm thinking there's gonna be something big in August. They may redo the Boseman challenge, but change it a little bit.
Maybe.
That would be nice if they have like an annual Boseman challenge. You know what I mean? That'd be a nice way to always honor him. Variant 9. It can't be Variant 9 if they haven't had 7 and 8 yet. I like how we call it variant, but the truth is it's called back issues. Variant is just a variant of back issues number 7. So that's technically it's a back issue number 7. We call it variant because that's the only thing anyone cares about is the variant version. It's become the what do you call it? The slang term for it.
Anyways, I'll leave it be. I'll leave it be. I'll just pop down to this page, I suppose. But basically, the whole idea is that the next variant is Guardians of the Galaxy themed, right?
Yeah.
So we know it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot and Rocket Raccoon was the original storyline there on the initial monthly event quest. That is going to be the next variant, whether it comes next month or whenever it comes. But it is going to be Groot and Rocket Raccoon. So here's my personal thing, because based on variants, at least on the last variant, since this kind of new turbo champion buffing mode has been announced, right? We got the Daredevil Hell's Kitchen overhaul coinciding with the release of variant 6, which was known as villain variant, but it was Daredevil Hell's Kitchen variant, really story-wise. And also after that, Kingpin is also a champion that got buffed, which was heavily featured in that whole storyline, Daredevil Hell's Kitchen against Kingpin. So basically, we got 2 buffs based on that variant. So I think let's all agree that for now, for the sake of argument, it is most likely that variant 7 is coming next month.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that it is going to be around Guardians of the Galaxy storyline. Now, how the nodes are going to look like, we don't know. Obviously, maybe it's going to be Cosmic Champion centric. Maybe it's going to be Hero Champion centric.
Maybe I think they may do something with Guardians of the Galaxy tag.
I doubt it's going to be that, because that's way too restrictive. I think it might be one of the quests, maybe, or one of the something, but I think at large it would never work.
I don't think he would nerf it if they do it as a bonus like they did with Sentinel. You remember Sentinel got a specific
kind of like that. If
buff.
you just buff Guardians of the Galaxy, that's fair enough, but you can bring in everything. But I think they have more recently been going the route where you can't bring in your full roster. They've
been going where maybe you can't bring in any villains, which would really be the opposite of last month. Or last variant, I mean.
Again, it will be something we don't know exactly what the nodes are going to be, so I don't think we have any reasonable way to speculate it with any degree of educated base in it. But we do have a reasonable past precedent to speculate the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy champions, most likely Groot and Rocket Raccoon, but could possibly also include Agent Venom, could possibly include Drax, could possibly include a few other champions. They are the ones that are going to get buffed. So, since we are going to be getting one overhaul, well, we originally were meant to get 2 overhauls next month. We originally were meant to get 2 overhauls next month, which I'm not sure that is going to be the case. But even if we are getting 1 overhaul, 1 tune-up, 1 medium level buff, there is a very reasonable degree of hope that those could be Groot, Rocket Raccoon, and something. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Groot and Rocket Raccoon was actually who I was thinking was going to get buffed next if they end up releasing variant 7 or back issues number 7. Yes, I 100% think that that's going to be what they release.
Yeah, especially because I think Rocket Raccoon actually has some decent makings of, let's say, an average kit, and he's in a relatively similar or / better position than, let's say, Falcon was. And Falcon has been fantastic champion, so even if Rocket Raccoon gets a mediocre buff, I think they can make a very fun and exciting character. If they buff half his numbers, give him a couple of extra abilities, he could potentially be amazing. Yeah. And he does not necessarily need a complete overhaul. We can quickly jump in the game. I'm going to take a look at Rocket Raccoon. And there are several things that many people don't even realize he has. So where are my tech 6 stars? Let me take a look. Where's that squirrel?
Yeah.
Trash Panda. Right.
Trash Panda.
So basically, he has increased critical rating for every hit in his awakened ability, which is like part of the reason why he gets so much damage. And then, well, he has fairly basic abilities. And special attack, he gets cruelty or precision, forgot. Special 2, he has a chance to armor break and inflict bleed. Special 3, he has blah blah blah, whatever. But he has also these couple of passives there. Built from recovered alien technology, rocket shield system charges anytime he dodges back, bolts for 1.5 seconds. Each shield loses power that gets used in combat, whatever. Kinetic shield, 4 charges of physical resistance, so he can increase his physical resistance, he can increase his armor, and he can increase his special resistance by 20%. And I think adding a couple of extra things, a couple of extra pieces of utility, there could be something decent in Rocket as a high damage glass cannon type of champion. He just needs a bit of utility and a bit more damage to shine.
I agree with that.
And
I think it'd be really nice if they buffed him. He'd be a better. We need some better tech champions, you know, especially because this year they didn't really give us. I mean, Psycho Man, eh.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, this year is still young, kind of.
I know, but we keep saying that, but we're almost halfway done with the year.
Well, not halfway, quarter.
Well, we're a quarter done already. We can say we're a quarter done, but I mean, we're creeping up on half a year already.
We're 50% to half a year, which is what quarter 50% is.
50% of half
a
year,
half
yes.
Of a half.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is whatever they determine next month will be that much closer to it. Will be another third closer to half a year.
It will be a third of a year then.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just, KT, you're lucky I can't hear you 90% of the time what you say.
Basic math, you moron.
See, I didn't hear what you said. I heard basic math, burp, and then cut out. See, there we go. Yay me!
Oh, they censored me. Anyways, and obviously Groot could be. It could be different champions, or it could be that Groot and Rocket Raccoon get buffed like a month after. But I do feel that they are coming. They would kind of hit the description of what kind of champions.
Wouldn't they blow your mind if all of a sudden they said, by the way, now Star-Lord has a persistent charge if he's awakened, and it's just like Aegon. Later, guys.
Well, peace. No, that would be too stupid and too OP. If you carry him over like 400%, you'd be hit.
Well, no. Like they don't do the same thing. They do like something similar, but it's like they give him persistent charge, and it's not like overpowered like that. It just like he can't shrug off stuff, but like he can carry over.
Yeah, I know.
Like 25% of whatever he ends the combo with.
There's a ton of cool stuff they can do with any given champion, and then they can do a Civil Warrior, which is complete.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. He got buffed, didn't he? He sucks.
Oh, I don't really want to call it a buff.
I do like his new special one field animation, his aura field thing. It looks nice.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so it can go either way, but variant 7 is more than likely coming, and it is definitely going to be Groot and Rocket Raccoon centric. And I'm looking forward to it because we desperately need something this year.
We need something. Yeah, they front loaded December, had nothing in January, did decent with February, and now March again. It's like every other month it's death. So does that mean May's gonna be dumb as shit again?
I hope not. I really hope not. I had thought that since the release of those dev diaries they had learned a lot.
Yeah.
Because second half of last year was bloody decent. There was only like 1 month or 2 months out of 6 where we didn't have something interesting happening. We either got the variants, like December was crazy packed with 7.1 and also the variant 6, and before that we're getting more and more stuff, and this year is just like they just stopped caring, honestly.
So what I think they should do is next month variant, the following month do like the either 7.2 or start the Summer of Pain thing, and then 7.2 in June. That way every month you have something big coming out.
I think like quite seriously, I understand that there are people who just freshly download the game and still have a ton of things to catch up, but with every passing day there are more and more people who have caught up or done all the content that they can or want to do, because there are a lot of people who are not going to do Abyss for another year or two, even if there's nothing else coming, right? Because either they're not ready for it or they just don't like the type of content. what I'm getting at is with every single passing day or month, there are more and more people who have caught up with everything that they are willing to do in this game, or possibly everything, right? And this problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger the more they procrastinate it. And sooner or later, Kabam is going to have to go to even more aggressive release schedule where something is happening every month. Because, like, okay, you can release variant today, but if a player is at reasonably high skill level, at reasonably decent roster, it doesn't take a month to clear the variant. You don't have to rush it through a day, but you can feasibly, let's say, clear it in a week and a half just by doing it with like free energy and stuff like that, because it's not like that long piece of content. You know what I mean? So even if they release something every month, it's not like it's gonna create this infinite amount of content that you can never catch up. You can, if you really put your mind to it, you can clear variant in a day or two. Or if you do it slowly, you can do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely can do it in 2 weeks.
And especially because a lot of content that they release, like these boss rushes, 15-minute thing. You don't need to make it bigger than it is. The boss rush, the tiny, weeny, mini little thing. It's hardly bigger than 1 day's worth of side event thing, kind of like, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not enough. That's not enough to make a month interesting.
It's not. It's very, very annoying that they do that.
10 minutes and done.
Yeah.
And they genuinely need, and I think this game has a very, very big problem in general, almost every month in week 3 and 4. Week 3 and 4,
and
many people have pretty much nothing to do.
This month is worse because it's a 5-week month, so we have 3, 4, and 5. We're just kind of sitting around with a thumb up our butt.
3, 4, and 5, where a large, significant portion of the people barely log in the game. You do AQ, you do AW, and that's just about it. You have done it.
My baby account, I usually stretch out the uncollected monthly event quest and the side event, and I got done with that in week 2, and I've been pushing the side event, but I still only have like 5 feathers on that account. So it's like I'm not even able to do much on the second account, you know?
Yeah, and whenever I talk about this, I get a lot of flack thrown at me. It's like, oh, not everybody rushes through their content. But the thing is, I have been playing this game since start. I'm really not rushing at this point. Even if I'm rushing, then it has made no difference at this point, because even if I did it slowly, I still would have done it. And the second thing is, I understand that there are people who don't have this issue, but there are every day more and more people who do. And it's perfectly fine if you haven't. I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. But fact of the matter is, it is a real problem. When I made that video where I was talking about the lackluster start of 2020, there were literally 2 groups of people. There was one group who was jumping in and saying, no, it's just you, you're an idiot, stop making pessimistic videos, I'm having a ton of stuff to do and cool. And then there was another group of people who were saying, yeah, I completely understand. And it's like a very polarizing issue. And what makes it very annoying is that a lot of people are very disrespectful in that sense, and that some of the comments are just genuinely nasty. Like,
you gotta don't even go there when it goes to comments. Comments are toxic, just like the community that can be on the. Don't even worry
about that. That's not the point. There are toxic people all the time, but the problem is that the people who are out of content are typically more kind of like laid back and reserved. They're like, yeah, I agree. I want more stuff.
Not everyone's going to always agree, though.
People who don't agree are always coming in so rude and so aggressive. It's probably because they think I am trying to like talk down on them, because I'm trying to like flex that I have done everything, but it really isn't that.
It's what the problem is those people see anything that's said negatively or constructive criticism is all of a sudden an attack on them and their personal love of the game, and whether or not they believe that, I don't know, but you just can't get caught up with it.
It's just very interesting phenomenon there, where whenever I touch this subject,
I think we just need to not. I think it's a good time to just wrap it up, honestly.
Yeah, it is pretty decent time to wrap it up, but I will check my mailbox. I will check my mailbox as well before we wrap it up. But yeah, I think overall we have had a fairly productive discussion. How did you enjoy today?
I think it was good. The parts I could hear you, yes, I thought was really good.
Okay, you don't need to mention it right now.
We will fix that. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
but why did you bring it up right now?
Because we're gonna fix it after this is over.
Which you should have brought it up after this is over. Anyways, that is it for now, and yeah, next week we are more than likely gonna have a ton of things to talk about, as we should have the information drop about upcoming events
Yes.
and a whole other set, because we should know which champions are getting buffed and a whole bunch of other stuff. So stay tuned for next week. Obviously, till then, tomorrow morning a stream where I'm gonna do a whole bunch of side event and probably like tier 1 alpha arena with coffee and stuff. So yeah, all that stuff to come. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let's say a huge thank you to Mandalorian. And see you guys soon.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the